Good afternoon. Welcome. We're going to give it about a minute or so while we wait for everyone to get ushered into our virtual meeting room. Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for a discussion on the consumer benefits of President Biden's clean energy plan. We've got a great program planned for you. I'm Cecile Brown, EDF Action's Senior Communications Manager for Campaigns and Partnerships. And whether you're joining us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, we just want to thank you for being here with us. Throughout this event, please add any questions or comments into the Q&A section on the platform you're tuning in from. We'll have some time later on in the program to answer a few questions towards the end of the event. So you might be wondering, what's President Biden's clean energy plan? It's the combined investments from the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law that was passed last year. These historic bills transform our nation's progress and lay the foundation for our clean energy future and our fight for climate change, with billions of dollars of resources and the tools we need to build clean infrastructure, deploy electric vehicles, and create more sustainable and resilient communities. These bills have enormous impacts for our community, but many folks aren't aware of how the provisions within them can save money on energy costs and benefit us all as consumers. So that's why we're here today. We're going to hear from experts on the electric vehicle tax incentives, rebates, and home energy benefits that help you and your family lead a more sustainable lifestyle and save money. But first, we're going to be streaming a video from a recent event in Las Vegas with Senator Jackie Rosen. EDF Action was on the ground with the senator in April as she toured Soul Up, a Las Vegas-based solar panel retailer and installation company in Vegas. She spoke about the benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act and how solar power is a cost-effective climate solution for homeowners and businesses. Now let's tune in.
If there's one thing Nevada is known for, apart from casinos, lights, and flashy shows, it's the nearly year-round sunny weather. In fact, with over 210 sunny days per year on average, Las Vegas is the nation's third sunniest city, according to data from Redfin. So it's no surprise that solar companies are cashing in.
I won! Look at this! I won $11 million!
EDF Action's own Nevada organizer, Mark, recently joined Nevada Senator Jackie Rosen to tour one of those businesses. Rosen, who was a leader in getting the Inflation Reduction Act across the finish line last August, touted how this historic clean energy plan is bringing billions of dollars in federal investments to Nevada. And the payoff of federal dollars for the Silver State's economy isn't limited to just solar. According to a new report from the Environmental Defense Fund, federal initiatives have generated over $13 billion in investments for electric vehicle manufacturing and created 12,400 new jobs. To quote Senator Rosen,
so it's a win, win, win. I think in Nevada, what do we call it? A trifecta, right? It's a triple win.
And consumers are in line to reap the rewards of these investments. Thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, when you install solar on your home, you can receive a tax credit worth up to 30% of the cost of the system. And if you're looking to pull up to the Bellagio in style, the administration's Clean Energy Plan can help you out. With tax credits worth up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle and $4,000 for a used model, you'll have plenty left over for the tables at Caesars.
You probably get this a lot. This isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?
What do you mean?
Did Caesar live here?
No.
I didn't think so.
Oh, that was great. That was so awesome. So we're back for our panel discussion. Chris and Sage, thanks so much for being with us. Can you both quickly introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Sage Briscoe. I'm the Federal Policy Director for Rewiring America.
And Chris Harto, Senior Policy Analyst at Consumer Reports.
Thanks so much. We're so excited about the recent passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. We have activists tuning in today from all over the country, many of which who took action to help get this legislation over the finish line. I would like to start this discussion with an overview of how these bills help consumers save money and how people can take advantage of the tax incentives and rebates. So, first question goes to Chris. Let's talk about clean transportation. What do our viewers need to know about the electric vehicle tax credits and the Inflation Reduction Act? And how does purchasing an electric vehicle save consumers money upfront and in the longer term?
Yeah, thanks. So the Inflation Reduction Act extended federal tax credits for electric vehicles of up to $7,500 through 2032. Previously, those tax credits expired for automakers that sold popular EVs, and so this really gives consumers, another almost 10 years of tax credits on buying an EV. In addition, it added an up to $4,000 tax credit on used EVs. So this is a really important equity provision in this law that allows not just people who buy a brand new EV to save money, but also consumers who buy a used EV to save money. It did, however, add a number of restrictions on the tax credits. EVs to qualify for the new EV tax credit, they need to be made in America with batteries that meet certain requirements in terms of the manufacturing and critical minerals. So it does limit in the near term which EVs qualify for the credit, but there's most of the most popular EVs on the market qualify for the credit, and it's really going to help bring jobs to the United States and really secure those supply chains on building the EVs here in the United States. There's also some income caps and price caps to limit, very rich people buying really expensive EVs. The income cap is $300,000 for a family, $150,000 for an individual. It also in the price limits are $80,000 for a truck or an SUV, and $55,000 for a car, a vehicle classified as a car. So this will really help consumers. One, it will help consumers buy electric vehicles, which can save anywhere from around $1,500 to $2,000 a year in fuel and maintenance costs. Bring down that cost barrier to get into those electric vehicles that can really save money over time as you own the vehicle, pay less for fuel, have lower emissions, have a cleaner neighborhood and environment, while saving money.
No, that's excellent, Chris. I love what you mentioned about equity, and everything that you said is really important, right? Not just having tax incentives for brand new vehicles, but opening those incentives up for used vehicles is a game changer. And you're right, it's all about accessibility. And I think that's just a really, really great incentive that you highlighted. Sage, can you talk a bit about the energy efficient home and residential clean energy credits within the Inflation Reduction Act? How can consumers take advantage of these new benefits to make their homes more energy efficient?
Thanks, Seal. I'd be happy to. As you say, there's sort of two flavors of the tax credit. The first is for the bigger purchases, so your solar, battery storage, and geothermal heat systems. You can get 30% off of all of those purchases. And if you don't have enough tax, you're not going to owe that much in tax in 1 year. You can also carry that amount forward into later years. So you can get that tax credit spread out over multiple years if you need to. And that's really exciting because that helps you to, if you want to make your own energy at home and have the ability to help, stabilize our grid and clean the grid up right there from the comfort of your own home. This is sort of an opportunity to do it. And geothermal is the most efficient way to heat and cool your home. So those are all very exciting tax credits that have been expanded by the Inflation Reduction Act. The other side is the more energy efficiency focused. And those pieces, you can get $2,000 for 30% up to $2,000 for a heat pump to heat and cool your home, or for a heat pump water heater to heat and cool your water. And you can also get $1,200 in addition for things like insulation, or if you need to do wiring, like panel upgrades, or you need to do other sorts of air sealing and things. You can get a little money for new windows or new doors, all those sorts of things that can help make your house more energy efficient and help to lower your bills and make it more comfortable while you're in your home.
Love that. I think it's super important, Sage. It's more than just getting our homes powered by renewable energy, but like you said, how can we be the most energy efficient? So we use less energy. That's what makes the big change in the long run. That's excellent. So there's so many options for home and transportation savings in the IRA. How should people evaluate which options are best for them and their families? Sage, can you talk to us more about rewiring America's savings calculator? Sorry.
Sure, no problem. We have an IRA calculator that's focused on the benefits that came from the Inflation Reduction Act. And as you've already been hearing, there's a lot of different pieces and they all come with their own sort of rules and regulations. So the idea of the calculator is to try to take a little bit of personal information to create your own personal response. So depending on where you live, what your household income is, things like this, we can more tailor what might be applicable for your household. And so it shows you the different sorts of tax credits and other incentives that you might apply for. We also have other guides that can also help, and we'll have some more coming out this summer for those who are trying to figure out where do you start and how do you find the people who can help you along this way. So we understand it can be a little daunting, but we're trying to put together some pieces to help people on their journey.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And y'all, the link is scrolling right down here in the chat. So if you need it, it's scrolling right on the bottom of our screens. So earlier we talked about the EV tax credits, but we haven't talked much about the infrastructure to support them. Chris, are there incentives for local cities and towns to install charging stations from the Inflation Reduction Act?
Yeah, great question. So there's really two major investments in charging infrastructure happening right now. One is from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. About $7.5 billion is being invested primarily in highway corridor charging, in ensuring that there's chargers every 50 miles along major highways throughout the country to help ensure consumers can get where they want to go if they choose to buy an EV. But in addition, the Inflation Reduction Act also extended some tax credits for EV charging infrastructure as well. So both private and public installation of charging infrastructure in low-income communities and rural communities can receive up to a 30% tax credit on that infrastructure, whether it's at home or at a business or other places where that infrastructure is installed.
Awesome. So I believe, thank you so much, Chris. I believe we are at the portion where we're going to start a live Q&A. And we've already got a couple questions in the chat. So I'm going to start with the first question. We have a question from Steve about heat pumps. There are some benefits in the Inflation Reduction Act specifically for purchasing heat pumps to regulate the temperature of your home. Sage, can you talk a bit more about what a heat pump is and why it's a cost-effective option for homeowners? Are those heat pump benefits enacted yet?
I certainly can. I'd be happy to. If people know anything about Rewiring America, you know that we love heat pumps. We're a little bit obsessed with them. But I know that not everybody shares quite that level of devotion. But maybe you will at the end of this answer. So basically, what a heat pump is an air conditioner that can go in reverse. So it both heats and cools your house. If you've ever noticed that behind your refrigerator, it gets kind of hot. And if you're like me, it also maybe gets a little dusty. But the fact that it's getting hot, the reason that is because it's also a heat pump. And what it's doing is just taking the heat from inside the refrigerator and dumping it out the back. So what a heat pump does, what we call the heat pump for your whole house, is just in the winter, it's taking heat from the outside and pulling it in and using that to heat your home. And in the summer, it's taking the heat out and dumping it outside, just like your regular air conditioner would. So they're great devices. For one, you only have to have one piece of equipment to do both your heating and your cooling. You don't have to have a separate furnace. Also, you don't have to be burning fossil fuels in your home. You don't have to worry about the climate impacts of that or the air quality impacts of that. And they tend to be quieter and produce a more even heating and cooling level. So they're great machines and we love them. As for the incentives, the tax credits are live now. So you can get $2,000 off if you get an energy efficient heat pump. Or an energy efficient heat pump water heater. There are additional incentives that will be coming online maybe around the end of this year or sometime into next year. Those are the rebate programs, and those are going to be run at the state level. So it'll be a little bit up to each state to see exactly what that timeline is going to look like. But that'll have a higher incentive level, especially for low and moderate income families who just need a little bit extra help to be able to afford that equipment.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks so much, Sage. This is question number 2 from the audience. I'd like to speak a bit to the anxiety that some folks may feel about the range of electric vehicles. Chris, what are your thoughts on range anxiety and why EVs are the best option for those considering buying a new or used vehicle? How does the EV tax credit really work when you're making a purchase?
Yeah, great question. EVs are new and people are still kind of learning, what they do, how they work, what are the pros and cons of electric vehicles. And a lot of people, get a little caught up in some of the cons, which range anxiety is definitely one of them. But today's EVs, almost all of the EVs on the market today get anywhere from 250 to 350 miles of range. We're really starting to see the range of EVs really get a lot better in the future. But what people don't always notice or think about is that every day you get up and if you can charge your EV at home, every day you get up with a full battery. So I know everyone's had that experience where you get in your car, you're late to something, and you look down and the fuel light's on, and you've got to stop, go to the gas station, stop, and those extra 5 or 10 minutes that it takes you to fuel up feel like an hour because and that just completely goes away with an electric vehicle. They're also just so much fun to drive, smoother, quieter operation, faster acceleration, and all the savings that you can get from lower fuel costs, lower maintenance. You think about the hassle of having to stop to charge every 2 or 3 hours on a long road trip, but you don't have to go to the get your oil changed every 3 to 6 months. You don't, there's a lot of hassle that goes away when you own an electric vehicle that people don't really realize until they purchase one and actually live with it and see how much more convenient it can be. As far as this tax credit itself, so right now for 2023, to claim the tax credit, you'll buy an electric vehicle, make sure that it qualifies for the tax credit, which you can find on fueleconomy.gov. Consumer Reports also has some guides on the tax credit that you can find at cr.org. But you buy the vehicle, and then you'll have to wait until you file your taxes at the end of the year. And on your taxes, there'll be a form that you can, fill out and claim the tax credit, and you'll get that $7,500 or whatever the value of the tax credit is for the vehicle that you purchased on your taxes at the end of the year. But starting next year, starting in 2024, you'll be able to transfer the credit to the dealer at the time that you buy the vehicle. So you can transfer. You'll fill out a form. You'll transfer the credit to the dealer, and the dealer will be able to give you the tax credit right there when you purchase the vehicle. Whether it's a new vehicle or a used vehicle, you'll get the tax credit right there at the time of purchase, which will make it a whole lot easier to take advantage of the tax credit next year. But that'll start at the beginning of 2024.
That's awesome. Chris, can you remind the audience about that website one more time where they can find out about the tax credits and download them?
Yeah, great. It's fueleconomy.gov is where the list of the vehicles that qualify, as well as go to consumerreports.org or cr.org and navigate to our cars section, and we've got lots of great information about tax credits and EVs and all kinds of good stuff.
Excellent, excellent. And just to your point about range anxiety, I know one of the really strong benefits of the bipartisan infrastructure law was 500,000 EV charging stations all across the country. And this isn't just for passenger vehicles, but I think this will unlock a lot of resources also for heavy duty vehicles as well. So it's really, really super exciting, and appreciate that answer, Chris. Question number 3, and I think this is for Sage. Can we talk about rebates for everyday kitchen appliances, and what sort of appliances qualify?
Sure. So the rebate programs are what I was mentioning earlier, that are the ones that will be run by the states. And so there'll be a little bit of a lag until they get stood up, maybe into early next year, depending on the state. But once they come online, they're really quite exciting. It can be up to $14,000 for low and moderate income families to get $8,000 for a heat pump, $840 for an induction or electric stove. There's also money for heat pump water heaters, for electrical wiring and panel upgrades. So sort of a whole package of everything that you might need to make your home more energy efficient. And in the kitchen part, the having that access to an induction stove or an electric stove can be really wonderful for a family, especially if you have children or elderly, if you have any concerns about some of the health impacts that the air quality issues might cause from the gas stove. So we're really excited about the potential that this will unlock to help give people the opportunity to change out to cleaner appliances. One thing that I will just flag, especially for those renters in the audience, it can be very difficult. Landlords can use the rebates, so hopefully a lot of them will, but I know how difficult it can be to get your landlord to agree to anything. So one thing that people might want to be aware of is there are induction single burner, sort of almost like a hot plate that you can buy, that you can use in your home right now, if you want to, if you're uncomfortable using your gas stove because of the health concerns. They cost about $100. They do work very well, and you can find out if your pots and pans will work with induction by sticking a magnet to them. If the magnet sticks, then that pan works. And I will say, much as Chris was talking about how exciting and fun it is to drive an EV, cooking on induction is just great. The water boils in half the time, and you can control the simmer very precisely. And so it really can be kind of a joy to cook on. But that's also just an option to toss out there for the renters who may be feeling a little bit left out by some of our tax policy.
That's really important, Sage, really important. I think we have one additional question from the audience from Allison. Is it true that some credits are only for remodeling a home and not for building new? Any thoughts on that?
So that is true. The tax credits that I talked about previously, about adding a heat pump to your home or some insulation or adding in solar. Actually, I believe the solar can be used for new builds, but for the energy efficiency, that is primarily for remodeling and retrofits. Those are for existing homes. There is, however, an entirely separate credit for building more energy efficient homes, new homes. So there's a builder's tax credit that they can claim if they build homes to a higher energy efficient standard, which is really great to see, because that's what we should be doing. Is sort of I know we're not building enough housing stock in this country. Hopefully we're going to start building a lot more soon, but you want to sort of build houses to the highest standard from the front, and then we don't have to spend as much money adding in the weatherization and the insulation and all of that after the fact. So there are credits for everybody. There's also some credits that multifamily buildings can get for both retrofits and for remodeling, but it's just, as we like to do, everything's a little bit piecemeal. So it's slightly complicated to figure out who qualifies for what, but hopefully there's credits for most people.
Thanks, Sage. We've got another question from Steve in the audience. Are these rebates or credits, are there rebates or credits for solar generators?
So there is a tax credit for putting solar panels, and also for the first time, there's now a tax credit for having battery storage in your home. So both of those are now available at a 30% tax credit rate, and that tax credit does carry over year to year if you don't have enough that you owe in federal taxes to claim it all in 1 year.
Awesome. Thanks, Sage. So I think this is the last question for you both. What advice do you have for those considering making the transition in their home or with their transportation to be more sustainable? And why does this action matter right now?
Sure.
Chris?
So-
No, go ahead.
The advice that we like to give everybody is to start with a plan. So this might be getting a home energy audit. You might be able to talk to your local utility and see if they offer audits for free or at a discount. There's also a tax credit now for energy audits. Or it might just be as simple as sort of taking a personal review of which of your appliances are old and are probably going to need to be replaced soon, and things like the home comfort issues. If there's certain rooms or areas of your house that are drafty or are always too cold in the winter or too hot in the summer, so start sort of taking a real mental inventory of these things, and then you can start reaching out to contractors and thinking about which appliances you might replace first, where would you need to have some insulation or sealing. But once you sort of are armed with a little bit of a game plan and some thoughts about what order you might want to do things in, it's a lot more empowering and a little less daunting to feel like you have to do everything at once.
Great advice.
Yeah, and transportation is the number one emitter of greenhouse gases. So really choosing an electric vehicle can really be the largest, most impactful decision you can make your personal decision that you can make in terms of lowering your climate impact. It's not necessarily a no-brainer, an easy decision. It takes some planning, takes some thinking. You need to understand where you're going to charge your car, how installing a charger at your home, or whether you can plug in to a regular level. You have an outlet available for your car, and it does require a little bit more planning on some of those longer trips. Where you're going to travel, what are your family's transportation needs. But otherwise, it's just choosing which vehicle is best in a best fit for your family, just like choosing any other vehicle. Go through the same decision making process.
This is great advice. So what I'm hearing, Sage said, make a plan, right? Preparation always beats poor performance. Make a plan and start there. And Chris, just doubling down, transportation being the number one source of emissions. Driving electric is one of the most impactful things we can do as individuals and, hey, even businesses, to drive down this climate pollution. So these are both great to-dos for our audience. We're going to move into the next portion of the program. And thank you so much to Sage and Chris for joining us and answering all these great questions and telling us more about the work that you do and all the great incentives out there for consumers in the bill and IRA. This is for our audience. If y'all want to take action to make your voice heard on the benefits we just discussed, you can sign up to write a letter to the editor for your local newspaper. These letters to the editor are impactful ways to spread the word about issues that matter to you, and they're often read by your elected officials and influential community leaders. You can sign up to write an LTE about the benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act by visiting edfaction.org/write-LTE. Once you sign up, you'll receive a template next week, and our team will help you polish and submit letters to your local publications. So again, you can go to edfaction.org/write-LTE to sign up to work with our EDF Action team to write and publish your own letter to the editor. And you'll see the link right down below. And that wraps up our program for today. I want to give a huge thank you to all the members and speakers that joined us today. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sage. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've learned so much about how the Inflation Reduction Act can benefit us and save us money on our energy costs. Please take a look at the comments section on the platform you're tuning in from. You'll see links to the resources we discussed today, including Rewiring America's IRA Savings Calculator and the Consumer Reports EV Incentives Finder. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you online. Let's run up the LTEs. Thanks, y'all.